Cat question a day, keep the stress away. Let's talk about a para summary question today. So, the directions that your question gives is something like this. The passage given below is followed by 4 alternative summaries. You have to choose the best one that captures the author's position or the essence of the paragraph. Right? Let's have a look at the paragraph. Pause your screens for a minute or so and attempt this question. Right. The early optimism about sports deterrent effects, effects that stop something, on delinquency, minor crime committed usually by minors, by young people, was premature. So this optimism of that sports can actually deter delinquency, sports can reduce delinquency, was premature. Why? Because researchers failed to find any consistent relationships between sports participation and deviance. Deviance again here means delinquency, deviating from the accepted norms of the society. So, researchers have failed to find any relationship between sports participation and deviance. Important idea right at the beginning of the paragraph. As the initial studies were based upon cross sectional data and the effects captured were short term, it was problematic to test and verify the temporal across time. Okay, temporal means across time. It was problematic to test and verify the temporal sequencing of events suggested by the deterrence theory. So, this sentence, even if I understand it broadly, tells me there's some problem with the data, right? Data based problems have been encountered in these researches. So, the data is cross sectional, comprises various sections. It is short term. The effects that were captured are short term in nature. So we are unable to see the effect over time, right? The correlation between sport and delinquency could not be disentangled from the class and cultural variables. Correlation, variables, statistical problems. So the correlation between these two factors, we could not really isolate it from the class to which a person who's participating in sports belongs to, the culture to which he or she belongs to. We could not isolate them from these factors. So these point out to statistical problems, don't they? All right. So, choosing individuals to play sports in the first place was problematic, which became more acute in the subsequent decades as researchers began to document just how closely sports participation was linked to social class indicators. That, participation in sports is also linked to the class that you belong to, upper class, lower class, middle class. So, ultimately, talking about the class variables here. So, the key idea is that researchers have failed to find any consistent relationship between sports participation and deviance. Why? Because of database problems, statistical problems. Let's see which option captures this. First says there is a direct relationship between sports participation and delinquency. There is. Researchers have failed to find it. Okay, so one could be eliminated easily. It is not being substantiated at all by the passage. The passage, in fact, is saying the opposite, that researchers have failed to find it. Two, contradicting the previous optimism, latter researchers have proved that there is no consistent relationship between sports participation and deviance. Have these researchers proven this? They have just failed to find this. Failing to find something does not mean that you've proven that there is no such thing, right? If I fail to find my keys, that does not mean that there are no keys. So, eliminated. Three, statistical and empirical weaknesses. Yes, statistical. Empirics means related to observation, data. Statistical and empirical weaknesses stand in the way of inferring any relationship between sports participation and deviance. Absolutely captures all the key ideas here. One, two, and this third one that was there in the first sentence itself. So three has to be the answer. Okay. Four says sports participation is linked to class and cultural variables. Now, see, while this fact is something that is mentioned here towards the end, okay, this is not the main point. Also, these factors have not really been listed. So, a summary cannot mention things on its own. So, additional information not capturing the main point, eliminated. So, three is our answer here. This is a question from CAT 2020. All right. So I hope you've now understood it. And yes, join us for an analysis of CAT 2022. We'll conduct analysis for all the slots, right? And we'll talk to you about section wise how the paper was. We'll discuss some memory based questions, what cutoffs you can expect, and what were the good attempts. All of this along with a score calculator through which you'll be able to predict your score as well. So do join us on the D Day. Thank you.